Now, your paycheck is losing its buying power. Inflation is outpacing the wage gains of American workers for the first time in 3 years. April's CPI, that's the Consumer Price Index report, shows inflation jumped 3.8% annually. That's mostly thanks to the war in Iran, pushing up gas prices. And take a look at this. Average hourly earnings, however, have only risen 3.6%. President Trump says that's not a concern when it comes to peace talks with Tehran.
Negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situations motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody.
Okay, those words may come back to bite them. Allie Kelly is a reporter on Business Insider's economy team, and she joins us now in studio to explain what all of this means for those watching. Allie, good morning and welcome. So the gap between prices and wages is just 0.2 of a percentage point. That's the technical translation, but what does that feel like for our viewers?
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, Errol, we are at a point where wage growth is starting to fall behind inflation. And we had a really steep inflation report yesterday. And that CPI is really an indicator of what Americans will feel on their grocery store receipts when they're, going to the store to buy clothes. And not only are those prices rising, but people's buying power and what they're getting in their paychecks just really isn't keeping up. And that is a time where we are looking at gas is consistently over $4 a gallon right now. It's harder for people to fill up their vehicles and get to work. And it is a point where we have consumer sentiment markers where we know that Americans are not really feeling optimistic about the economy right now. And for that reason, I think that it's important to pay attention to that inflation, even as we are at a point where we're technically seeing job growth in the American economy.
Well, that was my next question, because that's the data, that's the feeling, but this comes after a relatively strong jobs report last week. So what is the trend line? Where is the economy seeming to go right now?
Definitely. I think the American people are probably feeling some disconnect where we had a pretty strong jobs report last month. And what we're seeing there is that jobs like healthcare, those sectors where we're seeing long-term care, we're seeing hospitals, those are upholding the job market, whereas a lot of those traditionally white-collar roles, we're seeing layoffs in big tech. That is where the job market is really slowing down. And I think this challenge with inflation rates in the job market is really connected because federal interest rates are relatively high right now and have remained steady. And there's kind of this balance where if you pull one lever to control inflation, you risk slowing down the job market even more.
And for viewers and consumers, they're trying to pull their economic levers too, leaning on credit cards more, according to the data. What are some of the risks there? Bears repeating, at least.
Yes. We are at a point in this country where credit card debt is steadily growing. And that is something that really can come back to bite Americans. I completely understand why people might be putting essentials on their credit cards, especially as we're seeing that wage growth really isn't keeping up with buying power. Yeah. But with interest rates the way they are, and if inflation stays higher, the Federal Reserve is unlikely to cut those interest rates. We'll see. We have a new chair next. But if interest rates stay higher, it means that if people don't pay off their credit cards on time, it's going to become more and more expensive to pay off of that debt.
It could be a more expensive bill down the line than people
Absolutely.
realize. Really some pain out there. Allie Kelly, thanks for explaining it all to us. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.